from the Salvation Army National Headquarters, this is the Fight for Good podcast.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Fight for Good podcast. I'm your host, Lieutenant Colonel Tim Foley, broadcasting from National Headquarters of the Salvation Army in Alexandria, Virginia. Hope you're doing well today. Thanks for taking a few moments to listen in to our podcast. And today we have the pleasure to have joining us on the podcast is our assistant to the editorial director, Michelle Caceres. Happy New Year, Michelle.
Happy New Year.
Behind the scenes, Michelle does a lot of work, kind of is a little bit of our quarterback, really kind of shuffles the Airtable board and kind of keeps everybody in the right perspective, in the right frame of mind where we're working on all of these different features. But one of her main things that she does is that she has been since I took over as editor-in-chief, you've been designing our millennial page. How has that process been going for you?
Good. It's a lot of work, even if it's just 2 pages, because we have to schedule the interview, book it, which can be very hard depending on who it is that we're interviewing. Sometimes schedules just don't line up, especially around the holidays. That was really difficult. But after we get the interview, we get it transcribed, and then we use the interview 3 different ways. So I don't think people realize that sometimes. I think they think, oh, we just record it and then that's it. But it's actually, we use it for print, online, and in the podcast. And then our design team designs it for print. Elizabeth puts it up online. The editorial team edits it. Elizabeth edits the podcast. So it's a lot. And then we have to promote it, obviously, too. And that's I work a lot with Elizabeth to get that promoted on social media and also on our actual interviews on their social media as well. So it's a lot of work.
And you obviously work well ahead of time, and you have at times you have an open door to some of the places, but sometimes you get probably more no's than yeses when you're seeking out some folks.
Yes, I get a lot more no's than I do yeses, which is fine. Scheduling, has a big thing to do with that. And also just, a niche. Sometimes people have certain niches that don't line up with ours, and that's fine too, So, but we always like to kind of keep that line of communication open, just in case anything changes in the future.
Well, today we're featuring our millennial in the January 2021 issue of the War Cry. Tell us a little bit about who you're featuring here.
Yeah, so I connected with Miss Jena Holliday back in May, I want to say, of 2020 when the pandemic first hit. We kind of pushed back our May interview because we wanted to see how other millennials were handling this pandemic, because none of us have lived through something like this before. So it was very interesting to just see, like, some people were really struggling, some people were also thriving. So it just kind of was interesting to see the different balances of how people were handling it, what they were doing to get through it, who they were, who their emotional support system was. And I had reached out to a bunch of Christian influencers via Instagram, which we had never done before. I always find their email or their manager's contact. But this time we were on such short, notice that I just said, I'm going to message them directly. And so I connected with Jena, and so you can see her in the May issue as well, where she talks about a little bit about her art background and how this time has kind of given her a nice break at that time in May when quarantine first hit. It gave her a nice break to kind of focus on family aside from work for a change. And I just found her story really interesting because she said this line that I just knew this would be a great interview. When she was 8 months pregnant, she left her corporate job to pursue art full time. Who does that? Like, that's insane. So I just knew that I wanted to reconnect with her and give her her own full 2 pages, because her story is just so fascinating and it's really inspiring too.
Well, I had a question, though, as I'm looking at the layout. And for our listeners, if you go to thewarcry.org, you can open up right now and you can see the article, and it's on page 28 and 29. Is this a piece of her original artwork?
Yes. So she does a lot of illustrations she started a lot with like graphic design work, and she was working for like a marketing company, and now she's really kind of dabbled in all sorts of art, which is really crazy because that just shows how talented she is. I can barely draw a stick figure, so I'm always I always admire people who have that artistic ability. So she does a little bit of everything: paint, graphics, drawings, and she's been featured in Essence magazine. She's publishing a book. Actually, that book might be out by now, if I'm correct. It might be out by now or coming out this year. I believe she says it in the interview, so you'll hear in a second.
Well, we thank you for bringing her back up to us, and this is a really really nice article. And so let's hear Michelle's interview with Jena Holliday.
Okay, so go ahead and just tell us a bit about yourself.
I am Jena Holliday. I am an artist and an illustrator. I am from Minnesota, where I'm married to my husband, and we have 2 kids here. And I'm an encourager. I love to just encourage people with words and art. And that's a little bit about me.
And I kind of read on your website that you were actually, was it marketing? You were in the marketing field?
Yeah, so I actually started out in marketing. I went to college for marketing, and it was mostly because when I was in like middle school, I was told by like one of my art teachers that like going after art as a career wasn't really a profitable decision, and so I actually went to school for marketing because it was the most creative side of business. And I left my full time job in marketing. I was working um, in social media marketing and digital marketing, and I left that to pursue a full time illustration freelance business. So that happened, man. How old is my son? I always base it off his age. 4 years ago, because it was right around the time I was pregnant with my second child. And so 4 years ago, I did that, and it's been a good decision. But it was definitely a really huge jump to go from that. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, when I was just pitching your story to my bosses, I was like, on her website it said that she was 8 months pregnant.
Yeah.
You were like 8 months pregnant when you just quit your job and went to art full time. And I was like, who does that?
Exactly.
Like,
Everybody was like, you're crazy. And
yeah.
my husband, it was like, I did some convincing. I don't know how I did that, but I did some convincing, and he allowed me to do that. I just like always think back to that because it was definitely right now. Like, why would you do that right now? Like, why don't you wait a little bit longer? But it was a good decision. I knew that I was going to be on maternity leave for a while. So I actually kind of used it as, well, let's see if things kind of grow in the maternity leave time period. And if so, I'll keep on with it. And if not, I'll go back to work. And that's kind of how I did it. But it was definitely a crazy time to make that decision.
Yeah. And then what was it exactly? Because art is so, it's kind of broad. It's everything from graphic design to painting to illustrations. What area were you trying to really focus on at that time?
At that time, I was doing a lot of like portrait type of work, mostly illustrations. I worked with a lot of like mommy bloggers and like doing pictures of their kids and families. And I really I did a lot of children's illustrations at that time when I first started out because my kids really inspired me to start doing it. And so that was kind of how I started. But after a while of doing that, I kind of got burnt out in that area. And so I've explored a lot of different areas of art and illustration. I've done graphic design. I've done like the children's illustrations. I've done editorial work. And right now I love to do children's illustrations, like book projects, but I also love to do I love to work with like small businesses and like women-owned businesses and brands and help create illustrations and graphics that help bring their brands to life. That's the stuff I love to do. And so it took a while to get there, but when I first started out, it was definitely mostly like portraits.
Yeah, that's awesome though that you have that talent, because sometimes people only have one skill set, you know? So it's awesome that you have that talent to kind of have a diverse portfolio. It's very rare.
Yeah. And I think I attribute it to, like, I would say that in some ways I'm naturally gifted in it, but I think also I have just kind of grew up with like a DIY mentality. I'm a middle child of 7 kids. So I have a huge family. I have 4 sisters, 2 brothers. All of us kind of liked making things with our hands and building things. And each of my siblings has a career, or, is working creatively, like in their jobs. And so I was just never afraid to try stuff. And I think that always helped me to continue to grow my skill set, because I'm just the type of person that it's like, I might as well try it out and see.
Right.
And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, but then I don't live with the what if, and so that has always kind of helped me.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great mindset to have too, especially in this industry. And you kind of talked about this already, but was art always a part of your life, or was there something maybe when you were younger that you really gravitated towards more?
Art, I always doodled. Like I would fill notebooks with like pictures that I drew, but I didn't really think too much of it. I just thought that was like how I processed things, or how I thought. I didn't think it would be like a career at all. Like it was never something I thought I would be doing, but it's always been there. I've always liked to create and make things, and just even for myself, or just for my friends, or just for my family. And so it's always kind of been there. I did not go to school for art. Like I said, I went to school for marketing. So I don't have like an art degree, but I have been, loving creating things since I was a kid. And so it's been fun to, as an adult, kind of jump back into learning something like that, and sharing that work. And so I would say it's always been a part of my life, for sure.
Yeah. And with that, what are some of your biggest accomplishments?
Ooh, I would say just owning a successful freelance business has been like a huge accomplishment for me. When I first started out, I wasn't sure that I would make it past the 5-year mark, and last year I did that. So that was a big accomplishment for me. I started a project when I first started out where I featured women and mothers that I had been friends with online, and I illustrated images of them and shared them out on social media as just a way to like honor moms and use and honor the illustration gift that I have. And it was picked up by Essence, and that was something that was a really big accomplishment for me in that first year of just being recognized by a major publication. Yeah, and then this past year, I actually just signed a book deal with HarperCollins for my first author illustrated book project. Yeah. And that comes out in about 2 years. So we're working on that now. But that's another like really big accomplishment that I'm super just excited and proud and all the feelings for. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Because you're going to go to like Barnes and Noble and you're going to be like,
yes,
I made that.
I know. It's crazy.
That's so exciting. Do you know the title of the book yet?
Yeah, it is. It's going to be Spoonful of Faith. It'll be the name of my brand.
Oh, that's so cool.
Mhm.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Congratulations on that. I can't wait till it comes out then.
Yay, me too.
If you could go back and give advice to your younger self, what would that advice be?
Ooh, this is a good one. Man, There's a lot of things I would tell my younger self. Probably a lot of, I would say, like, don't rush the process, because I think I have learned over the years that sometimes I'm always looking towards the future and like what's to come, and I don't really bask in the present moment and, take it all in and enjoy where I'm at. So I would tell my younger self that. I would also tell my younger self, like if going back to that year where I left my full-time job and started working on illustration, there's a lot of things I would tell myself then. And I would say to find somebody that's further along than you, and, just cultivate a relationship with them so they can help mentor you in those types of things, and mentor you in whatever area you need help in. And then, I don't know, I think the last thing I would maybe tell my younger self is just that, like, I guess I would tell myself that there's going to be a lot of great things that are ahead of you. And so, like, just keep going. You can do it. And I think that's something that I often tell other people, because it's something that I needed to hear, in my journey. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And just with that, I mean, you kind of already started answering it, but what would advice to other people who are in a similar situation as you were, who just need to take that leap and take a chance on themselves? What would that advice look like if you're to give them some?
Yeah, I would tell them to keep going and to trust the process, because a lot of times, like I said, we just want to get there, and we don't really want to go through the process. But really, the process of getting there is what builds our character and like really helps us to be able to maintain what we have when we get there. So, for example, like going through or waiting a long time for something that you really, really want, it sucks while you're waiting, but like when you finally get there, you have grown like your muscle of patience and being able to kind of endure and go through a time without what you want for what you want. And so there's just a lot that you gain in the process that sometimes we overlook, that I would tell others, if you're going to do this, if you're going to take that leap, you're going to take a chance on yourself, understand that it is a journey, it is a process, and trust that if you lean into that, like, you'll get to where you need to go.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, that was really good advice. I felt like you were giving me advice just now. And on your website, I saw something and I wasn't 1,000% sure. So can you explain what the Do It as Worship is?
Sure. So I just launched a membership group where I send out like a weekly encouragement email and video, and it includes just some advice and tips and things that I've learned over the years when it comes to growing their creativity, building a business or a creative business, and then just utilizing the gifts that God has given us. And so Do It as Worship is the name of that membership. And it's really focused around honoring God with the gifts that he's given us and using them as a form of worship to honor him with what he's already placed inside of us. So that's a little bit about the membership. I launched a beta version of it with a group of women, and so far so good. It is an 8-month kind of program. It's kind of do it at your own pace. Every month there's a Q&A mentorship call. And so it's a good resource for anyone that's looking to just grow creatively, find community of people that are in the same place and that want to honor God with their gifts and with their creativity. So that's a little bit about it.
Okay, awesome. Being very open about your faith online can obviously bring some positivity or negativity. when you do get those negative comments just about being open about your faith and stuff like that, how do you handle it? And what advice would you give to other people who are scared to be open about their beliefs online?
Your honestly, your confidence in what you share online is going to go back to how strong your belief system is. So because I strongly believe something, like it doesn't matter that someone disagrees with me or doesn't like that I said it. Because I still believe what I believe about it. But I'm also very open minded to others and other perspectives. And I think that as long as you are confident in what you believe and also open to what others can kind of provide as far as perspective to you, then you'll be okay, because it's not about arguing or disagreeing with people. Sometimes we see things a little bit differently, and it's mostly probably because of either the way that we were raised, the social and economic systems that we live in or have dealt with. And so we just have different viewpoints on maybe very similar topics. And so I think that, staying open will help you more because it won't be a personal attack, I guess. But I actually get a lot of positive comments, and I think that's because although I do share my faith online, I also share things that I believe are very universal to all people, just to people in general. And so I really try to be very inclusive about how I speak certain truth and life giving things to people, because I really want everybody to receive it, no matter what you believe. And so that's kind of the approach that I have taken.
That's good. Yeah. I like how you said too that yes, like you do post faith inspired things, but it's more universal and just kind of overall, really, you're just putting positivity out there, at the end of the day. Like you're really just sharing, be a good person. And that's what the Salvation Army is all about. It's about meeting human needs without discrimination and doing the most good. So I feel like your message correlates perfectly with us.
Yes, I love that.
Okay, so I mean, you're basically a triple threat. You've got events, you got a book coming out, an artist, a mom. Like those are not easy jobs.
Right?
How do you balance all of that?
Ooh, it's taken years to learn how to balance it. The first 2 years of like running my business where I was overworking myself, undervaluing my work. I was doing a lot for nothing. Um, and it taught me a lot. It taught me how to value and price my work, so that I could take on less projects and still get paid good money. But also, it taught me the value of like being present and being able to be there for my family and my kids. And so now what that means is that I prioritize my family and I communicate really well with them about what I have going on. So that way, the lines of communication are open. They know what's going on when I'm going into a busy season or when I am, have more time for things. And then I also like to plan out time with people that matter. So that way I know that I'm hitting all the different areas of my, just my family and like the people that I care about. But then also with my business, I have multiple streams of income. And so I just, man, that calendar app and the notes app, and I'm constantly, double checking and making sure that I have things in my calendar because it does get busy sometimes. But I've learned in the past year that it's more important for me to actually have more margin than it is for me to be busy, because sometimes we can get like, we get addicted to being busy and having lots going on. And so what I've learned is that I have to make time for nothing. And when I do that, everything else kind of falls into place a lot better. Um, I'm able to be more centered, I'm able to be more clear, and I'm able to manage things a lot better. But when I have too much on my calendar or too much on my plate, I can't manage it all. And so I've learned having more time to do nothing, which could be like one day out of the week where I'm like today I'm not working and it's a weekday, and I feel like I should be, but I'm not. I'm going to take the day and actually spend time with my family or just rest. That is more productive than it is for me to fill it with more things and burn myself out. So those are some of my tips that I have learned over the years.
Yeah, definitely. And then do you just have any last comments for our listeners?
I would just say that, I don't know what you're, going after or hoping to go after, but honestly, just keep going. And whatever it is, it might seem hard. And I think I would also say that, like, right now, I'm not sure when they'll listen to this, but, everything that's going on in the world with the coronavirus, with all these things, it can be hard to be creative. It can be hard. You might feel like a mental block, and it's okay to rest. It's okay to rest. It's okay to not be busy and filled with all these different things that you want to do in this time, and that's totally fine. Just trust the process, because the creative process is up and down, and sometimes it's flowing and sometimes it's halted, and just trust that, it won't always be in this, you won't always be in the same place, and keep going.
That was Michelle Caceres with Jena Holliday. Michelle, what do you think are some of the lessons that people can learn from Jena?
I think the biggest thing would be, I know it sounds cliche, but to follow your dreams. I'm just never going to get over the fact that she was about to give birth and she pursued art. Like, people don't even take those degrees in college anymore, because people are told, oh, you're not going to make any money from an art degree. But I think given the new digital world, that's just completely not true. And she trusted not only her gut, but she trusted her, her ability as an artist, and she really went for it, and it paid off in the long run. And I just think no matter what field you're in, whether it's art, business, math, science, you have to go for it if you really want to get somewhere in life. So I think that was, her message really shows that.
Well, we thank you for finding her and reaching out to her and spending a little time interviewing her and writing a great article about her in the January 2021 issue. So thanks for that. To read Michelle's full interview with Jena, check out thewarcry.org. Well, that's going to end this episode of the Fight for Good podcast. Be sure to subscribe to Fight for Good wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to follow The War Cry and Peer Magazine on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Until next time, this has been the Fight for Good podcast. Bye for now.
Subscribe to Fight for Good wherever you listen to podcasts.